What if you were arrested today for a crime you didn't commit? What if the system meant to protect you turned against you? And what if no one believed you were innocent? Every year, innocent people are locked away, some for years, others for decades, simply because the system failed them. Evidence ignored, lies believed, and confessions coerced. Their lives torn apart, their families shattered. In today's video, we'll share the haunting stories of 8 individuals who were wrongfully convicted, languished in prison for years, and were finally exonerated. Number 1. Kimberly Long. Our journey begins in California, with Kimberly Long, a woman whose only crime was returning home too late. In 2003, Kimberly found her boyfriend Oswaldo Conde bludgeoned to death in their home. She was horrified. Instead of compassion, she got suspicion. Despite no DNA or physical evidence linking her to the crime, Kimberly was charged and convicted, based entirely on the supposed timeline and a questionable forensic theory. She was sentenced for life. For 7 years she was trapped behind bars. Her appeals fell on deaf ears. Until 2016, when new evidence proved she couldn't have committed the murder based on the time of death. The court overturned her conviction. Kimberly now fights for others like her, but the scars of her lost years remain. Number 2, Luis Vargas. Next we meet Luis Vargas, a man branded as a serial rapist, the infamous teardrop rapist, because of a tattoo he didn't even have. Convicted in 1999, Luis was sentenced to 55 years to life, entirely based on eyewitness accounts. But witnesses can be wrong, especially when under pressure. In 2015, DNA from multiple crime scenes confirmed something chilling. Luis was not the rapist. The real perpetrator was still out there. Luis had spent 16 years in prison for crimes he didn't commit, a victim of mistaken identity and tunnel vision by law enforcement. Number 3, Susan Mellon, 17 years. In Los Angeles, a grandmother named Susan Mellon found herself locked away for life, for a murder she had nothing to do with. Her conviction in 1997 was based on the testimony of a woman known for lying, so much so the police themselves had previously labeled her as unreliable. But this time they used her anyway. There was no physical evidence. Susan had a solid alibi, but it didn't matter. She spent 17 years in prison until a dedicated investigator uncovered the truth. In 2014 she was freed and in tears told the world justice is supposed to prevail. And it finally did. Number 4, Kirsten Lobato. In 2001, a 19-year-old named Kirsten Lobato was convicted of a brutal murder in Las Vegas. But there was one huge problem. She wasn't even in the city when it happened. Police misinterpreted a past assault she'd described as a confession, and despite overwhelming evidence placing her hundreds of miles away, Kirsten was found guilty. She spent 16 years behind bars before new forensic testing and timeline evidence proved her innocence. In 2024, she was awarded $3.4 million in compensation. But the trauma of prison, the lost youth, it's priceless. Number 5, Daniel Villegas. Daniel Villegas was just 16 when police pressured him into confessing to a double murder in El Paso, Texas. He later recanted, but it was too late. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses placing him at the scene, just a scared teenager's coerced confession. Daniel was sentenced to life. For over 2 decades, he fought to prove his innocence. In 2018, after a retrial, he was finally acquitted. 25 years, gone. Because authorities chose a quick confession over real investigation. Number 6, John Bunn. Imagine being 14 years old and waking up in a jail cell accused of a murder you didn't commit. That's what happened to John Bunn in 1991. A corrupt New York detective, Luis Carcella, orchestrated false evidence. John spent 17 years in prison and another 10 under supervision. Finally, in 2018, a judge declared, "This was one of the most shameful episodes in our legal system." Today, John is a literacy advocate, helping others heal, but he still carries the weight of his stolen youth. Number 7, David Ranta. In 1990, David Ranta was convicted for killing a rabbi in Brooklyn, but the truth was darker than anyone imagined. The same rogue detective, Luis Carcella, had coached witnesses, falsified reports, and framed David. It took 23 years for the truth to come out. In 2013, he was exonerated and later received $6.4 million in settlement. But David himself said it best, Money can't replace time, it can't give you your life back. Number 8. Eric Kelly. Eric Kelly spent 24 years in a New Jersey prison for a crime. DNA evidence later proved he didn't commit. He and co-defendant Ralph Lee had been pressured into confessions. No DNA matched, yet they were convicted. Finally, in 2017, DNA testing led to their exoneration. But 2.5 decades of life were already lost. Their case shows the danger of closing investigations too quickly, and the life-saving power of modern forensic science. These were not isolated errors, these were failures. Failures of police, of prosecutors, of judges, of a system designed to protect the innocent. When the system rushes to punish instead of uncovering the truth, it punishes the wrong person, and lets the real perpetrator walk free. Wrongful convictions leave deep scars, families broken, futures stolen, and a justice system left in disgrace. But it doesn't have to be this way. We need reform, now. Here's how: mandatory video recording of interrogations, so no one can be forced into a false confession behind closed doors. Reform of eyewitness identification procedures, which are unreliable and influenced by bias. Independent prosecutors and oversight panels to prevent corruption. Universal access to DNA testing, especially in older cases. Justice should never be about closing a case quickly. It should be about getting it right. Because when one innocent person is locked away, we all lose. To Kimberly, Luis, Susan, Kirsten, Daniel, John, David, Eric, your stories are not forgotten. Your pain, your strength, your voices, they matter. Please express your thoughts and comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Together, let's be the voice for those who were silenced. Thank you.